We really went from this
season, and he fumbles the snap. It's a fumble.
And it is going to be a change at quarterback.
Wilson.
to this.
Rodgers avoids the sack. Deep downfield, caught!
Big Deke news. Who would have ever thought we'd be saying in 2025, where would this Steelers team be without Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers offense doing what they're doing? Because one, did anyone really expect Aaron Rodgers to finish his career as a Pittsburgh Steeler? Now, the opportunity presented itself this offseason, but everything leading up to that with him being a Packer and continuing to return there, and then he goes to the Jets. No one expected the Jets to be cutting him after only 2 seasons. So that was a long shot. But then, 2, the fact that our offense under Mike Tomlin is competent and is in line with modern times, putting up 25+, 30+. With how we've been operating post-Big Ben, did anyone think that was going to be a possibility? Was there any hope of that happening? But here we are, Aaron Rodgers and the offense carrying us. And there's still a lot of talk about us adding another receiver, another piece before this trade deadline. And I think rightfully so. But it's a weird juxtaposition because the offense, Aaron Rodgers, is still cooking. But I think we still could use another receiver, and I want us to make a trade for a receiver. Now with how the Steelers played on Thursday Night Football, though, a lot of fans are pivoting to us adding a piece on defense, particularly at cornerback. And here's what Gerry Dulac, Steelers insider, had to say about any potential Steeler moves with this trade deadline coming up and what he expects.
You know, Kev, I think they have the guys that, barring an injury, I think they feel they have the guys they want to go with. You know, they have their 2 young linemen. They like the guys in the secondary. They brought in so many guys. They revamped that entire secondary. They're not going to change it just based on one game. They'll just change what they do a little bit. But again, it was alarming because they matched up on those guys, and it just didn't work. But no, I don't expect them to make any moves, barring an injury defensively at all.
Well, what are they going to do offensively?
You see what they're doing with their tight ends. No team in the league relies on their tight ends more than the Steelers. And so they feel they can get by, and they've shown that, without Calvin Austin for a couple games. And Calvin Austin is expected to come back Sunday. And I think if you see them go get a wide receiver, it's going to be the equivalent of Mike Williams, what they did last year. I don't think they're if I had to bet, I would say they're not going to do it. That doesn't mean that they won't.
I'm with him on the cornerback mindset. I'm not with him on the receiver mindset, though. For cornerback, I think it's just one of those things. We made those moves this offseason with Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay. We already had JPJ in here signing a Brandon Echols. We're going to stick with those dudes. One game isn't going to change that, although you can argue it hasn't been just one game with some subpar play, not only from a whole defensive standpoint, but even from a secondary standpoint. So right, wrong, or indifferent, I think that's going to be our mentality. When you have dudes like Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay, and JPJ here, you're just thinking we can get it done with who we have. These guys are good enough. These guys are quality enough. We made the decisions that we made this offseason for a reason. We'll figure it out. Again, right, wrong, or indifferent. Because could we maybe get another guy in here that would be better than Darius Slay? Yeah. But then I'm wondering to myself, does it make that much of a difference? Because I think a decent portion of why we look so bad against the Bengals on defense and through the passing game was because of our game plan and our schemes. So what does that tell you? Coaching has a lot to do with it too. And it's not like we're trading our coaches middle of the season. But that's a problem. Like, something's got to give with that. And it's just mind-boggling when I see a team like the 49ers last night, who's missing Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. They have a bunch of no-names out there playing a pretty good Falcons offense on Sunday Night Football. And they're playing better than our defense. I get maybe we had the tougher matchup. Maybe. I mean, Joe Flacco's making his freaking second start with the Bengals. You could say that makes it harder, that makes it easier. I don't know. But, like, why are the 49ers? And I would expect the 49ers defense to kind of continue along that line, at least not look as incompetent as us as the season goes on, even with them missing Fred Warner and Nick Bosa. Why is that? Why? Coaching. They have Robert Saleh. We had an opportunity to maybe get a Robert Saleh this offseason. We had an opportunity to keep Brian Flores on our staff a couple years ago. He goes to the Vikings, become the defensive coordinator. We keep Terrell Austin. So it's like we could make some upgrades, I guess. We could bring in some new players, but isn't that what we attempted to do this offseason? Bolstered up the defensive line, revamped our secondary. Inside linebackers, not even just the inside linebackers, the linebacking core, if you want to include the edge rushers, like that's good enough, right? That's more than good enough. TJ, Highsmith, Herbig, Patrick Queen, Peyton Wilson, Cole Holcomb. From a roster standpoint, a talent standpoint, that's more than good enough. Our defense, just looking at it right now as is, even if we say maybe we could get younger and get a guy that's better than Darius Slay right now, bro, there's no excuse. There's just no excuse with the roster how it is and the money allocated how it is on defense. No excuse for it to look like how it did Thursday Night Football and how it has a couple other weeks this season. Just insane. So then you're like, what is it? We know who the common denominators are from a defensive standpoint the last 4 or 5 years with these defenses being disappointing. Tomlin, Terrell Austin. The crazy part is, though, we made this huge overhaul this offseason, and the defense, on paper, should be better than all these other teams over the last 2 or 3 years. But we're at our worst. I know it's 6 weeks in, and there is a chance to change it around, but are we? Because we thought we were turning the corner against the Vikings, against the Browns, but then we took a huge backtrack on Thursday Night Football. At the same time, it's one game. I think both things can be true. It is one game, division rival on the road. Not the end of the world, but it's something to monitor, man. It's something to be concerned about, legitimately concerned about. It's one game, but this defense, I don't know. I don't. At least we got Aaron Rodgers in the offense. Going back to what I said at the beginning. At least Aaron Rodgers in the offense is doing what they're doing, and they're keeping us afloat. And would I rather be in this spot than the spot we've been in the last couple of years where it's kind of been the opposite, where the defense has been keeping us afloat, the offense would keep us at least close enough in these games and then have a game-winning drive, have a clutch fourth quarter or something like that? Yeah, I'd rather have it the way it is right now because of how important quarterback play is in this league. But to get where we want to go, the defense is really going to have to pick it up. And is there hope for that? Unless there's changes. And I'm not talking just personnel changes. Who knows, man? Who knows? Something's got to give. The schemes, the game plan, something. Got to look ourselves in the mirror and get things right. Because how is it that the Niners can look like how the Niners look? With Fred Warner and Nick Bosa being out. They're two highest paid players on defense. They're the two best players on defense. And look competent, look legit, energy, all that stuff. It's almost like coaching matters. And the Steelers' defensive coaching, it doesn't seem like it's been improving as the years have gone on. It's either has stayed the same. And at this point, I would argue it's gotten worse, even though we've made positive changes on the personnel side. Just mind-boggling to me. But in terms of trading for a receiver, this is where I disagree. He does think something's going to happen, but it's not going to be for like a Mike Williams deal. It's not. I think that's stupid. Why make the move then? When you have Roman Wilson, who actually made a couple catches in Thursday Night Football in a big spot. Calvin Austin coming back, who even though hasn't built as much of a rapport with Aaron Rodgers as we would like, there's still something there. Like if we brought in Mike Williams 1-to-1 comp for this trade deadline, what's it really doing for our offense? I don't know. I don't see that happening. I don't see Omar Khan making that type of move. I think it would be a splash player. It would be a guy to replace what we lost in George Pickens. Someone that if DK went down, God forbid, he could hold his own as a wide receiver one, a low-end wide receiver one for the time being. But when DK Metcalf is here, it's a 1A, 1B situation. This dude's a bona fide wide receiver too. And I'm thinking Chris Olave. I'm seeing even Garrett Wilson's name being floated out there. And let me just go through the list still. I mean, Garrett Wilson, Rashid Shaheed, Jacoby Myers, Jalen Waddle. If Garrett Wilson's legitimately available, I would go for him first before any of them. I know I had Jalen Waddle in terms of my power rankings, receivers that are realistically available, could be had at the trade deadline. I had Waddle 1. But if Garrett Wilson's out there, I'd put him 1. And I know there's rumors and reports that him and Rodgers weren't really on the best of terms, but he disputed that. And if you look at his production last year with Rodgers, over 100 catches, 1,100 yards. And he's a guy just hitting his peak years. He's in his prime. Explosive player coming out of Ohio State. Has done 1,000 yards every year with the Jets, no matter what quarterback they've had. I would go for Garrett Wilson. That would be my number 1 pick. And I think he's got a little bit more to his game, a little bit more just overall ability than everyone else that we've named. Jalen Waddle, a little bit more of a one-trick pony with the speed. I don't think he's as physical at the catch point as someone like Garrett Wilson. I just think Garrett Wilson's the overall best receiver of that bunch that I listed. So he would be 1. I would go Jalen Waddle 2. Don't get me wrong. He's not just a one-trick pony with the speed, but that's a main element to his game. I don't think he's as physical as a Garrett Wilson. And then a Chris Olave, I think 3. And then after that, Rashid Shaheed, then Jacoby Myers. But I think we should make the move. We absolutely should, just because it makes us that much more dangerous on offense. We are finding our identity. We're just flat out having success. We have a good balance. But look at what the Bengals did and what they were capable of by having a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins. What do you think the defensive looks are going to be like, and how they're going to be just perplexed on how to stop us if we got DK and we got a Garrett Wilson on the other side? And then you got Calvin Austin in the slot and Darnell Washington at tight end. Or maybe you take Calvin Austin out of the slot and you got Pat Freiermuth out there, 2 tight end set. You're able to motion them 1 out into the slot. You got Jalen Warren in the backfield. There's some crazy combinations that you could do when you have another legitimate threat out there like a Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, a Jalen Waddle. I think it adds that much more to our offense and gives us the security blanket of a high-end receiver in the room outside of DK Metcalf. But that's my thoughts. Yeah, get more pieces for Aaron Rodgers in this offense. And with the defense, sure, I would love another piece. I don't think it's happening. And how much would it really make a difference if the game plan and the scheme is going to be as vanilla and predictable as what it seemed on Thursday Night Football and as what it's looked like over the last however many years. And the thing that gives me hope that Gerry Dulac is going to be off on his receiver assessment here, receiver trade assessment, is that he thought Aaron Rodgers was definitely not signing here. And he's got some other things wrong in that light over the last couple years. But he is plugged in. He's given some sort of opinion from a place that is legitimate, but, I don't think we got to take it as gospel. I think we could definitely take it as a grain of salt. So I just wanted to react to that. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay chilling. Peace.